y'all. Thanks for coming and being here with us today. We're really excited to be able to offer this opportunity to educate students and families about the advising experience of our new student conferences. So to start us off, we'll do some introductions, just introducing your name, where you work at the university, and then also what your role is within new student conferences itself. So I'll start off, though. My name is Olivia Elliott. I work within New Student Family Programs. That is part of student life at Texas A&M University. And I am a member of the team that operates the new student conferences. So work anywhere on building the schedule and building the scripts for the presentations. But also I work on building out our online orientation. So Bonnie, if you want to go next and introduce yourself.
Yeah. So howdy, everyone. I'm Bonnie Bustos. I serve as Director of University Advising in the Office for Student Success here at Texas A&M. And my primary role with New Student Conferences is really high-level coordination. So I work a lot with Olivia and all of the other folks on the New Student Family Programs team, also with admissions, and then also with some of our other campus partners to do some programming for students and their families during day one of the New Student Conference.
Perfect. What about you, Garrett?
Howdy, I'm Garrett Brumfield. I'm undergraduate program coordinator for College of Engineering, specifically with our first-year engineering programs in Galveston, McAllen, the engineering academies, including our Texas A&M Engineering at Blinn, so T program. This will be my first summer in this role with New Student Conferences, but the last 4 summers I've been a presenter and advisor with New Student Conferences.
Perfect. So you work with some of our special populations within College of Engineering, specifically our TEEB students that are coming into the university.
TEEB students, I will be getting to do a lot of traveling this summer, making every trip to Galveston, McAllen possible. So kind of helping out with the coordination side of things, but then also presenting if I need to as well.
Yeah, you're going to have a busy summer.
Yes, lots of flight miles.
Yes. What about you, Carissa?
Howdy, guys. My name is Carissa Beeman. I am a senior academic advisor for the Clayburgh Advising Hub in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. Most of the time, I see students on day 2 of their new student conference. And so what I typically do is help kind of oversee all of the functions for new student conference for the hub that I advise for. And then you'll see me in with the majors that I specifically assist with as we break out into more things throughout advising on day 2. Fun fact, I was a student worker for the Office of Student Life when I was a student, and I did new student and family programs at that time and assisted with new student conferences on day 1. So
Perfect. I bet you've seen it progress throughout the years.
Oh, yes.
Perfect. And what are the specific majors that you advise?
So I advise specifically for animal science and forensics and investigative sciences, but my hub oversees about 8 different majors in the College of Ag and Life Sciences, and so I can assist with just about any of those 8 other majors that we service, which would be food science, nutrition, genetics, biochemistry, entomology, and poultry science.
Perfect. So thank y'all for introducing yourselves. I really do appreciate it and appreciate you just providing some insight into the units you oversee. So academic advising looks different for every single unit during day 2 of the conference. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what it looks like for your unit specifically. Garrett, you want to go first?
Sure. In the College of Engineering, we do a group advising model. Mainly on day 2, I guess what I can speak to. On day 2, we go over a lot of our policies and procedures. The College of Engineering, we have our entry to a major process, so we talk about that. And then kind of towards the middle portion of the day in the afternoon, we get into registration, answering some of those one-on-one questions that students might have. We try to have at least 1 or 2 advisors in every room. We get volunteers to come in. So even though it's a group setting, we still try to give students that individualized attention just because we all know from student programming backgrounds, at least, that no 2 students are alike. So while there's general information that applies to everybody, we get there's little intricacies that each student might need help with.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Our students definitely love that personalized touch, and we hear about it more often than not that they want that individualized aspect to the advising piece. Can you elaborate a little bit to talk about, my understanding is that y'all will have some incoming first-year students this year that will go straight into a major, and then you have your transfer students as well. Does advising look different for them?
Yes, it will look a little different. Some portions of it are still going to be the same. Using an Aggie schedule builder, that's pretty much the same. The departments where those students will be going into are definitely going to play a bigger role into that because in general engineering, our first year engineering, I'm trying to learn the basics of 22, 23, whatever number of majors we're on right now. Whereas the departmental advisors, they know the ins and outs of maybe it's that one or two majors in their department. So they're going to be able to kind of explain to students, okay, yes, you have to take this, intro level courses, but this is why, which that'll be really neat and really interesting to see how that goes this summer. We're excited.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, I know that you advise just one of the hubs, Carissa, but if you can talk a little bit about how your hub advises and maybe how that differs or is similar to some of the other hubs within Ag.
Sure, absolutely. So the College of Ag and Life Sciences specifically on day 2 breaks it out in kind of a couple different parts. So first we start with a dean's meeting in the morning that students go and attend, and they get to meet our deans and they talk to them kind of about what they can expect to be in the College of Ag and Life Sciences. And then our director of advising, Dr. Jennifer Reinsmith-Carranza, will talk to the students about what advising as a whole looks like for the College of Ag. Then, after she finishes, all students will break out into their advising hubs. So in the College of Ag and Life Sciences, we have 4 advising hubs that students are serviced through depending on their majors. We have the AGLS Advising Hub, which services our more social sciences in the College of Ag and Life Sciences. That includes ag leadership, ag economics, ag business, hospitality, hotel management, and I think that's all of them. So if I'm missing one, I apologize. And then we have our Wildlife and Fisheries Science Hub, which houses ecology, conservation, biology, rangeland wildlife fisheries management, soil crop sciences, horticulture, plant path, and all of what we like to call the green majors. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the Clayburgh Advising Hub services 8 different majors. And then we have the Scotes Advising Hub, which is in partnership with the College of Engineering with our Ag Systems Management and our biological and agricultural engineering students. So once we finish as a group with our big college students, we will then break out into those advising hubs. And don't worry, we'll direct you where to go. We're really good with that. And you meet with your hubs individually as a group and then individually. So you'll meet with your hubs. Your hubs will go over what their hubs do for you service-wise, how they operate, what the policies and procedures are. And then from there, our hub in Clayburgh specifically breaks out into each individual major so that you can have some one-on-one time with those advisors and talk to them about classes as it's specific to your major. Other hubs may choose to do that as a group and continue to have those conversations for their majors as a large group and just kind of focus on each major. And some advisors choose to meet with their students individually. So it's a really individualized process in our college, kind of tailored to how each major handles their students and what that looks like for them. And it's really neat.
So what I'm hearing is that advising looks different for all of our students. It sounds like engineering, y'all's focus a little bit more on the group aspect. Ag, you have that individualized aspect, but you may have some group aspects as well. So can y'all talk a little bit about, knowing the advising process looks different, what you may suggest to students to make the most of this experience for the first time?
Sure. With our students and students in general, there's so much information out there that they come in so prepared, which is awesome. It makes things a lot easier for us. But I would also say, remember to listen too. We have students that come in and we try to explain things from our perspective, and maybe stuff that's not necessarily seen on the website that we've encountered in our daily advising practices or common situations we see first year students come across. So we try to relay that to students. So I would say, do your research, but also bring notes, bring your computer, bring something to write on, because we're going to kind of throw a lot of information out there at you, but we also understand that there's a reason why we're doing so.
Yeah, so I would echo that sentiment along with review all the information that you're asked to review before you attend New Student Conference, especially your day 2 materials, because a lot of advisors will tackle day 2 under the assumption and expectation that you have already looked at the materials provided to you before you attend your New Student Conference, because you have received correspondence that asks you to do that before day 2. And so sometimes it can get confusing for students if they haven't reviewed those materials before they come, because we're operating from you've reviewed that material and now we're moving forward with the information that you need to know in addition to the material provided to you.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And we're really thrilled this year to actually be able to add all the colleges into our online orientation. And so we're helping to streamline the process a little bit for y'all's communication, but also in order to prepare students with the information that they need ahead of time. So we're thrilled to have y'all included in it and excited to see how students perceive that information. So switching gears a little bit, talking about the perspective of both students and families, do you have any advice for individuals going through this the first time? I think we recognize that coming from Texas A&M, we have students coming in that their parents came to Texas A&M, their parents came to Texas A&M, and so on and so forth. But also, we have first-generation Aggies and first-generation students. Do you have any advice to offer them about the advising process?
It's a lot of information. We recognize that you might be overwhelmed, so ask us questions. We want to know the questions you have. We don't know what you don't know, so you have to tell us what you don't know so that we know how to answer those questions for you. Also recognize that everyone's experience is different, so it's great to get that feedback from friends and family who've been here before, but things change, processes change, and your experience is going to be unique to you yourself. And so be open-minded to listen and really take in all that information that your advisors and your mentors are there to give you and help you with on day 1 and day 2. I promise we're not going to steer you wrong. We are absolutely going to make sure that you have all of the information you need to have a successful first semester at Texas A&M and get a schedule that will work for you specifically.
You're absolutely right. I mean, things have even changed since I've been an advisor back when I left in 2022. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's definitely echoing what she said of we get students that come up to me and will like whisper like, I didn't want to ask this question in front of the group because it might sound dumb. And my response to that is, I guarantee you that out of the table of, 8 students at your table, if you have that question, at least 3 or 4 people probably have the same question, but people are too embarrassed or nervous to ask. So go ahead and ask it, because while, we've been saying and doing these things for years now, this is your first time going through it.
Mm-hmm.
So also too, it helps us know. Because we do, in College of Engineering at least, we're at every single new student conference. So if we start to see patterns of students are asking the same question over and over again, it lets us know, okay, we need to do a better job of explaining. So yeah.
Perfect.
I love calling out students who say, I didn't want to ask this question out loud. And I'll say, this student had a great question. I want to say it out loud for everyone. And then I'll repeat the question so that if the student's too embarrassed or doesn't necessarily want to say it in a big crowd of people, the question gets asked broadly so everyone can have that answer. But also remember, you're coming to college, you're an adult now, and this is a really great low stakes opportunity to build on your professional communication skills, your public speaking skills, and to advocate for yourself as a student.
Perfect. Bonnie, do you have any advice for students and families?
I mean, I think what I would also encourage you all to think about is that the NSC experience is 2 days to prepare you for fall registration, right? And so when you come to your NSC, please don't feel like you have to have all 4 years figured out, or like you have to know all of the things about being an Aggie. Where you're going to have a lot of information that's going to be relevant for you for this first semester in your transition to the university. And so I think just rest assured that we haven't forgotten about all of the other things, but these 2 folks and all of our other advisors across the university are really just focused on, let's get you in, let's get you settled, and we'll get you more information once you're here in the fall. And we're not in this larger group. So, you eat an elephant one bite at a time, and NSC is just one of those first bites that you take. Fun fact, there's an elephant walk junior year. So
Yes.
the elephant joke applied, right?
No, you're absolutely right, though. One of our big focuses in new student family programs over this last year has been what's timely and relevant for our students. We recognize that students and families are receiving a lot of information over the 2 days at the conference. And so we're trying to make it as timely and relevant as possible to focus on what do you need to know right now, while still recognizing that your advisors aren't with you just for the new student conference. You'll see them throughout your time at Texas A&M, and you'll see all of these other resources throughout your time as well. But going back to a little bit of what Carissa had mentioned earlier of like bringing all this information to students before their conference, what information can you share that students need to prepare ahead of time?
I just want to put a plug in right here to say, check your TAMU email. A lot of us are sending correspondence to that A&M email because as soon as you're accepted, you are now purview to Rule 7, Student Rule 7, which says you will read your email at least once a day, every day. And some of us advisors only send the new student conference correspondence to your A&M email. So double check that and then make sure that you are looking at all of that information, writing down any questions that you have that you can bring to day 2. If something is there that you don't understand, please ask us to clarify, because if you don't understand it, it is very likely someone else does not understand it. And that gives us the opportunity to clarify and update that for future reference to other students that we see. And then be a contributing member to the conversations with your academic advisor. Again, this is a great opportunity for you to test being an adult out and kind of taking ownership and advocating for your own education. And so be engaged in those conversations with your advisors.
Absolutely. 100% want to hit home that idea of checking the Texas A&M email. There are so many students that we'll see that are like, wait, I have a Texas A&M email address. And we're like, yes, like you've received a lot of emails to it. And they'll open it and they're like, oh my gosh, I've been getting emails from y'all, the ones that I've said I haven't gotten before. So definitely need to check that email before you get to your new student conference.
Pro tip, go clear out all the junk mail already so you have a clean slate.
Yes. If you don't want to go to the comic book club's fundraiser, Canes, like we get it, just delete that. But save the email about taking your math placement exam.
Yes, absolutely.
Save the email about your day 2 information. We see students all the time that will show up to our building and they haven't gone to day 1 yet, but they're like, I'm here for my new student conference.
Oh,
and we're
wow.
like, that's not... You're a little day early, a day early.
Yeah.
So, like, come back, just not today. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you have any advice on what students should be preparing for their advising meeting?
I mean, have an idea of, kind of the courses you want to take. We get a lot of students coming in with AP credit, dual credit, and they think that maybe we've received it. We're not admission. So even if you don't have it with you right there, if you have an idea, it at least helps us with the scheduling standpoint. Make things a little easier. I mentioned the math placement exam. That's a big one for us just because engineering is so math intensive. So making sure that you've done that ahead of time. And then I believe first aid kind of goes over how to check for holds. A lot of holds can be taken care of way in advance. As advisors, we only have so much power to help with the removal of holds. So if we kind of get to that day 2 point and you still have some of those holds on there, our hands are a little tied in some cases, as much as we want to help you with those holds.
Yeah, absolutely.
I made a bullet list of things to remind students to do before you come to your advisors. Just like we just mentioned, your registration tasks are important. Make sure you complete those. In addition to your math placement, make sure you're taking your TSI assessment. If you don't have to do a proctored TSI and you don't pass your TSI, I highly encourage you retake that TSI until you pass. You can retake it on numerous occasions. Because if you don't pass it, you'll have to take some coursework in your first semester to help you meet those TSI requirements, and it will limit you on coursework you can take. Submit your meningitis records as soon as possible. That is a common hold that I see on students on day 2, and it will prevent registration. And then play with Aggie Schedule Builder before you come. Don't settle yourself on a schedule. Don't settle yourself on classes because the likelihood that it's going to change before you come to day 2 is very high. But know how to work the system a little bit. Go in and play with it and see what you know and make questions that you can ask advisors on how the functionalities work and what you can do to have a successful registration. And just having that practice is super helpful.
Yeah. So we've thrown around the term Aggie Schedule Builder a lot. We all understand what it is, but can one of you explain what it is for our students that may not be familiar with it?
Sure. The Aggie Schedule Builder is the system that students use to register for courses. It's where you can see any and all courses that are going to be offered in a given semester, dates, times, locations, which campus it's going to be offered on, because we do have Galveston, McAllen, and even our Cutter campus. So it is kind of the end-all, be-all when it comes to registration. So during your new student conference, we're going to show you how to use it as well as helping you get registered. There's some awesome videos out there in your Howdy portal that you can watch ahead of time to kind of show you the common tasks that students might use the Aggie Schedule Builder for. But when we're talking about Aggie Schedule Builder, that is registration. It starts with the Aggie Schedule Builder and it ends with the Aggie Schedule Builder.
Absolutely. And I think an important point too is this isn't just for the first time that you register. This is going to be for the first time you register and every time you register after that up until graduation. Garrett, you talked a little bit earlier about some items that students can bring to their new student conference. Can you elaborate on that, how that might help with the advising process?
Yes. With dual credit and AP credit, even IB credit, those, we see a lot of students coming in with those. And if a student doesn't have those, that's perfectly fine. We get it. Students come from different high schools with different levels of kind of classes and things. The reason I kind of mentioned that is just because we want to be intentional with students of the courses you're taking. In the engineering program, general engineering, there's certain courses that everybody has to take, but then you do have some flexibility with your core curriculum courses. So if a student has credit for an AP psychology course and we know that they have the score, maybe the score is just not in the system yet, I don't want to have that student go sign up for a sociology course because I know that eventually down the line, they're going to be able to go accept that credit and it's fulfilled a requirement that they need for graduation. So when we're working with students, even if it's not in the system, if you can still bring us something that shows like, hey, I have it, kind of like Bonnie talked about, like, not right now, but later on, we can use that.
Absolutely.
And I do want to emphasize that he said later on. Our college actually does not recommend that students go in and accept their AP credit, but that they bring us a list of their AP credit because not all AP credit will count towards your degree, depending on the degree. And all of it might count towards your degree, depending on the degree. So bring that list with you so that your advisors can look over that and can have that plan for you and let you know what will count, what won't count, what they'd recommend you accept, what they recommend you don't accept. And sometimes there are some majors, especially if you're going to be a professional school student, where we recommend you not accept certain AP credit because professional schools want to see you take that at four-year institutions where the rigor is a little higher.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to make a note about the AP credit. I think, that's one of the myths about NSC registration, right? Like your advisors don't want you to accept any AP credit. And it's not that we don't. We're nice people, I promise. But it's like we have to be thoughtful and intentional about the credit you're going to use. And there's just so many things to think about. Like Carissa mentioned professional school. Like, do you want to go to medical school? Well, medical school cares about where you have biology credit from, where you have chemistry credit from. And so we're thinking about all of those things that maybe you're not thinking about. You're just thinking, oh my gosh, I worked so hard, I earned this credit. And yes, we're so proud of you that you earned that credit. But we also want to make sure that you're strategic depending on what your long-term goals are. And NSC is not necessarily the time to be long-term planning. And so most of the time, you're going to find that your advisors are going to tell you, let's hold off on AP credit unless you need it because it's a prereq to something and you want to move ahead in a course or something. Most of the time, they're going to say, hang on to it. We're going to make notes that you have credit or you have potential credit for this. But another pro tip, your AP credit doesn't go away until you apply for graduation. So you got plenty of time to claim it if you need it. So don't sweat it.
Bonnie, there's something that you had mentioned that I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, but it's true that students, once they accept AP credits, they can't unaccept them. Is that correct?
That's correct. And so that's another reason why we want to be intentional about which credit you're claiming and which credit you're not claiming. Because once it's there, it's there, it's on your record. And so it might apply to your degree. Hopefully it might not. It could be an elective if your degree has an electives. Not all of our majors have electives. Those are like free credits, or sometimes those are directed, like you have a specific list. So that's why we're just very cautious. Again, not because we're trying to be mean, but because we just want to make sure if you're going to accept it, that you're accepting it because you know what you're doing, why you're accepting it. It has a purpose. It's going to fit somewhere on your degree plan. It's going to have some sort of function for you.
System even says, has a check mark, a box that says, I verify that I have spoken with an academic advisor regarding this. I mean, the way the system is set up, because we help students all the time do it. And I kind of joke that it's like, you sure you want to do this?
Yeah.
No, seriously, are you sure? All right, this is your last chance. Are you for real, for sure that you want to do this? Because, like Bonnie said, once you accept it, there's no turning back.
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked a little bit about some things that students can do to prepare and the resources that they'll utilize, like Aggie Schedule Builder. But we've also alluded to some pieces about students having required classes they'll need to take and some elective classes they'll need to take. While we don't want students to be focusing on what are the classes I need to take in my very last semester to graduate, how can students start to see what classes they'll be expected to take during their tenure at Texas A&M?
The university catalog.
Yeah.
Was the earlier you can get used to playing around with your catalog, I think it makes things easier. For general engineering, the first year is the same for everybody, but it does have little kind of footnotes and nuggets in there. And with general engineering, you don't necessarily know what major you're going into, but it still has the general information that's going to apply to any and all majors. So the earlier you can kind of get used to playing with it, seeing how it works. We get it's a process. You're not just going to be able to look on the website and figure it out, but we're there to teach you and kind of advise you and guide you through that process.
Absolutely.
You'll also hear advisors refer to the university catalog for your set of core curriculum courses, which is a set of courses that all students at Texas A&M are required to take. And some majors have required core curriculum courses, and some majors allow you to choose from a list that is in the catalog. So you'll see us reference the catalog a lot, especially for that core curriculum that you will all take as students here.
So switching gears from our traditional four-year students, things are mapped out pretty easily for those students, even if they are bringing in some AP, IB, dual credits. But what do you suggest for our transfer students that are interested in knowing the classes that they can expect to take during their tenure? I know that it looks a little bit different based on the classes that they're bringing in.
Schedule an appointment in September. That's my suggestion.
But I think some of it applies too, right? And for this is for incoming first year students and for incoming transfer students, we have a transfer course equivalency guide. So literally, if you just Google TAMU course equivalency, our database will pop up and you can search by state, various institutions in certain states. So if you're in Texas and you happen to be at a local or the Texas Community College, for example, and you're transferring from there and you're curious, like, how does my history 1301 class transfer to Texas A&M? You can compare that in there. So you could do a little work ahead of time if you want to do that and prepare and kind of look on your own. But for our transfer students too, like the sooner you send us those college credit transcripts, the sooner our admissions office can process those. And then your advisor kind of has a feel for how do things transfer here at the institution, and can sort of start looking at what's going to work, what's not going to work, and then building a plan for you from there in September.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bonnie, you alluded to a myth earlier about accepting AP credits. Are there any other myths y'all would like to share about advising during the new student conference, or honestly just advising in general?
Reddit is not a reliable source. I've had students in advising appointments come up to me and say, like, it says so right here on Reddit, and we can't understand who the screen name of the person is. So I try to explain to the students that's not a reliable source. I would also say that just because you've seen it on social media, unless it's come from an officially sponsored TAMU licensed account, that's not a reliable source. There's also a myth out there that just because a class is closed, an advisor can just force you into it. I wish I had that much power. It'd make my job so much easier. Oftentimes, if a class is closed, we don't know why it's closed. And if seats come open, we find out when you find out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when students find it on the internet, double check when they found it. Because if they found it from 2013, maybe question the reliability on that one.
Also, I've mentioned this earlier. I'm going to mention it again because I think this is a good time to throw it back in there, is your experience is going to be different than those who have experienced something similar in their time here. And it's going to be. And so oftentimes we'll have students say, well, I can't take this instructor because my friend told me I have to take this instructor. And yes, we recognize there are students who prefer instructors for certain classes and certain instructors, but we promise you that all of the instructors who are assigned to courses are experts in that area, and they have been deemed competent enough to teach the content. So you can take any other instructor, and we encourage you to be flexible in that. It's a really good opportunity for you to learn how to work with people who communicate or may teach different than the style in which you communicate or learn in, because you're going to encounter that a lot here. So just like Garrett said, Reddit is not right. Your friends are not always right either. And while it's great to have that feedback and we encourage y'all to communicate with each other, always confirm with the university official who's an expert in that area. And you can always start with your academic advisors, that information is true so that you can have the most accurate information moving forward.
Yeah, one more that I want to add to kind of based off of what she said. There's this myth out there that you have to get the perfect schedule. I haven't seen it. I've been doing this a while now. I don't think it exists. My goal is to get you in the classes that you need in a schedule that works, where it works with your schedule outside of school, in a time frame that kind of works with you. A&M, the campus, once you get here, it is massive. If you haven't been to here before, there's 20 minutes in between classes. Sometimes it's not enough time to get 20 minutes. So trying to work with students for that aspect of it. It happens at least once every new student conference. I have a student who comes in who wants to take 15 hours, but they don't want class before noon. They want to be done by 4. They don't want Mondays and they don't want Fridays. Like, let's do the math, folks. It's just not there.
Yeah, absolutely. So a myth that I've heard is that students who come to earlier conferences get a better schedule. Is that true?
100% not true. Y'all, okay, so advisors, we're pretty smart people, I think, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
we're pretty smart. We do a little planning. I think Garrett can speak to this a lot. Like, the College of Engineering works really closely with the chemistry department and the math department. Planning. I mean, they've been planning probably for months already.
We invented the word, Bonnie.
You did, for sure. And I'm sure Krista does the same, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know how many students are going to need chemistry. And so we know how many of you are coming. We don't know exactly how many of you are going to decide to take a chemistry or take a calculus, but we're planning as best we can with years of historical data, with the help from our friends in chemistry and our friends in math, to making sure we plan and have enough seats the entire summer to fit all of our new students. So our goal is really to be strategic in, for every new student conference, releasing seats. So what I don't want y'all to think is everything's out there on this Aggie schedule builder, and the folks that come in May get their pick of the litter of everything that's available, and then things just sort of start whittling down. Like, that's not how it works. We do some seat release for every new student conference for all of those core first year classes for students. Things that do shift around, and this is just me being honest, is core curriculum classes, right? If you had your heart set on theater history, it might be full, because those classes aren't as large as our chemistry or math or history classes. So that's where you might have to be a little more making some decisions about what you might want to take. Maybe you don't do a creative arts your first semester. You save it for spring because there's really nothing that's appealing for you. And so those are when Garrett mentioned, like, you want to be smart, you want to be strategic, you want to be intentional with your core curriculum classes.
Absolutely. So switching gears a little bit, we've also talked a bit about possible roadblocks to the registration process. So can y'all expand a bit on the course registration holds that might prevent registration on day 2 of the conference?
Marissa talked about a few of them already at the beginning, so I'm blanking on some of those. But basically, circling back, a hold prevents you from being able to register for courses. There's different reasons why students get holds. You're going to have holds during your time at A&M. We just kind of were stressing, or not stressing, but we want to kind of focus on the holds that prevent registration. So things like not having your final high school transcripts in, bacterial meningitis, side testing. For international students, any types of paperwork that are international, or our ISSS, international students, or International Scholar Services Office on campus, any type of paperwork they need, we need to make sure that you're getting those things done, because as advisors, we can't remove some of those holds. So we see it every once in a while where students will not have kind of taken care of things, or there's a glitch in the matrix, so to speak, and that hold is still there. And if that hold is still there come registration time, unfortunately, you can't register at that moment. Don't worry, though. Your advisor will work with you, will get in contact and help you clear that hold. It's just going to take a little bit more time. If I have a 45 students in a new student conference room for me, my goal is to have all 45 walk out of there with a schedule that they're happy with, that meets all the requirements that I need, that they need as well. And sometimes holds can kind of be a little bit of a barrier to that.
Absolutely.
I think some of the other things too are some of the registration readiness items that Carissa touched on. Things like setting your location, like you're going to live in College Station, not in Houston or Austin or wherever your hometown is. And then accepting terms of use, a lab safety acknowledgement. And you don't necessarily have to stress about doing those before you get to your NSC. In fact, most of your advisors will spend some time making sure you do that. The one that you might want to spend a little bit of time maybe before your NSC is your tuition rate, because that might be a conversation with your family or your support people just to think through. We can't make that choice for you as your advisor. Really, no one at the institution can make that choice for you. But there is some information on our student billing office, student business services office website that you can go read about our 2 rates that are available to you. But you do have to have a tuition rate selected. Otherwise, you won't be able to register. So it's not really a hold, but it is a registration barrier, right? Because it requires action and a decision. And sometimes our students get in a panic and they're like, which one do I pick? And there might be a little bit of strategy to picking one of the 2, but that's something you have to decide with your family and what's best for you.
Absolutely. And we have some information about those in our online orientation as well. And I think something else that I want to drive home with this is, while some of our course registration holds, like you select your tuition rate, that one resolves pretty immediately. Some of them might take some time to resolve. So I think of tuberculosis screening being one of them, our bacterial meningitis, because our bacterial meningitis, somebody had mentioned this to me and it's just stuck with me. Bacterial meningitis is one of those pieces of Texas A&M that most processes are digitalized throughout this day and age, and somebody physically has to look at your bacterial meningitis record still and check it off the list.
Right.
So I think that really helps to bring home that piece of like, make sure that you're checking on these now. Those are the questions that I have. I mean, we really appreciate y'all being here today, and we appreciate y'all providing this information for our students and families. And we're hoping that it helps to prepare for the advising experience on day 2 of the conference.
It was great.
Cool. Thank
We're
you.
excited to see y'all.